If you've created or downloaded some awesome plans that you really believed were the answer to how you were finally going to achieve the thing you've always wanted to do, just to be disappointed again, you're probably missing a key piece of the successful planning puzzle. If you don't want to keep making awesome plans and not getting the awesome outcome you want, you need to include this critical element in your future plans starting today. You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 244, Why Your Good Plans Aren't Working. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, my friend. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I hope you're doing great. How is your sensory data? Are you appreciating how it is the thing that will allow you to live the kind of life you want to live in your 70s and 80s? There are things you can do to protect it. And if you do, you will not be like most 70, 80, and 90-year-olds. Today, we're going to talk about your awesome plans and why they so often don't turn out the way you, planned them to. Maybe you recognized that you could make some big strides with your nutrition if you always had a nutritionally optimal lunch ready to go every day. So you found 6 recipes to use for lunches throughout the week, and you bought all of the ingredients. You planned to make 5 servings of each recipe throughout the month, and were excited about your new healthy eating habits. No more takeout or subpar, cobbled together, random collection of edible items for lunch. It took a lot of time to come up with these recipes that not only seem like they'll taste good, but also have optimized macro ingredients and portion sizes. You plan out what to cook on what day and what you'll eat on what day. It's a fantastic plan. You even customize it to your workouts with slightly higher carbs on high-intensity cardio days. Then you end up leaving work late one night, getting stuck in traffic one day, you didn't sleep well, so you can't stay awake one night, and the herbs turn to slime in the fridge, and your kids use your tortillas for quesadillas, and it just doesn't happen. Or, you know you need to lift some weights. You heard somewhere that it's the highest leverage thing you can do to put more years lived in good health into your future, which sounds pretty good. So you find an example weightlifting program that you like and you feel like you can understand. You get out a monthly calendar and write in your workouts for the whole month. Push days on Mondays and Thursdays, pull days on Tuesdays and Saturdays, cardio on Fridays. It's a really great plan. You can tell you're excited about getting stronger. But then, before you know it, 2 weeks has gone by and you haven't gone to the gym once. Maybe it's something more simple. You realize that in order to get up when you need to, the optimal time for you to be in bed is 10:20 p.m. So you make a plan to be in bed by 10:20 every night, no matter what. You set an alarm on your phone to go off at 10:10 every night. You set your skincare ingredients up so they're ready to go. You even plan to put on your blue and green light blocking glasses at 9:30 p.m. every night. You're ready. Next thing you know, you're deciding it's totally fine to finish one more episode of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms at 11:30. It's no big deal. We often think that if we just had the best plan there is, the most optimized workout routine that we can clearly follow, the perfect meal plan guide with recipes and shopping lists that don't include barberries, fennel pollen, seaweed, or agar-agar, the most motivating meditation app, the best stretching class there is. Good plans are important, and I actually love planning. I know some people don't feel the joy, but I love planning all kinds of things, even boring things. Planning a trip is as fun to me as being on the vacation, but I also enjoy planning meetings and weeknight meals and cleaning projects, because I'm weird. But whether you love making the plans or not, the steps of the plan are almost never the thing that's holding you back. It's usually not that hard to come up with awesome plans, either yourself or by finding a good plan someone else has already put together. There are exceptions, especially for things that require specialized knowledge, like making an optimal plan for optimizing your perimenopausal hormone levels. But for the most part, the items in the plan aren't the issue. It reminds me when you watch post-game interviews and they ask one of the players or coaches a fairly detailed question and they answer with, "Oh, we just need to go out there and play better football." And everyone's like, "Oh, wow, brilliant." We know we need to prioritize sleep. We know we need to lift weights and do a certain amount of cardio. We know we need to eat more protein and vegetables and less processed stuff. So why aren't our good plans working? Why don't we just get good results that match how good our plans are every single time? What's the problem with these great plans that include all of the information and the steps that we need? I think one of the reasons is because we make these plans kind of like we're programming a robot. We think if we document each step along this linear path, then we'll magically become Optimal Bot 3000 and just do it. Optimal Bot 3000 does what she's told. She doesn't get scared, overwhelmed, distracted, or bored. She doesn't feel left out or like she's being deprived of joy. She doesn't get sick or sleepy or start ruminating about things. She doesn't blame herself for anything that happens. But we're not robots, so no wonder the plans we make for Optimal Bot 3000 don't usually work. In order to get more success, we either need to become robots or change our plans to accommodate more humanness. I think there can be value in a little of both, or a little of one and a lot of the other. I think there's so much value in learning about stoicism and being able to act with wisdom and logic and not being governed by your emotions. When you can rise above your emotional reactions to everything, you develop a lot of self-mastery that will serve you in every area of your life. You can do what needs to be done no matter how you feel. That's pretty high level. One of my favorite one-liners is from Michael Beckwith, who said, "What does not feeling like it have to do with it?" So good. When you can operate from that perspective, you're way more likely to accomplish big things. Willpower is a learnable skill, and the ability to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not, will take you to another level. I love talking about it, and I think there's a lot of work that can be done here. But as emotionless as we try to be, or think we're capable of being, the vast majority of our decisions are emotional, whether we want them to be or not. And that's okay. There is some wisdom in essentially ignoring our emotions and doing what needs to be done anyway. But I also think there's even more wisdom in accepting our emotions and working with them, harnessing them and using them. Emotions aren't some kind of evolutionary accident. They're not character flaws the way Stoicism can seem to make them out to be sometimes. We have emotions to make us better, more human, better humans. Emotions are information, signals we can observe and use to guide us and protect us, to reveal truth to us, to strengthen us. Emotions themselves are never problems. What we do with them can be. It's more important to acknowledge how you really feel than to feel good all the time. Suppressing your emotions makes you weaker, not stronger. I was recently reading a book called The Crucible of Doubt by Terrell and Fiona Gibbons, which is totally unrelated, but it had this great passage about emotions. Can any claim be more specious than to suggest that we want more objectivity and less emotion in guiding the course of our personal and collective lives? Emotion is not a defect in an otherwise perfect reasoning machine. Reason, unfettered from human feeling, has led to as many horrors as any crusader's zeal. What is correct in a world devoted to maximizing efficiency and productivity? Scientific husbandry tells us to weed out the sick, the infirm, and the weak. The ruthless efficiency of euthanasia, initiatives, and ethnic cleansing are but the programmatic application of Nietzsche's point. From any quantifiable cost-benefit analysis, the principles of animal husbandry should apply to the human race. Charles Darwin himself acknowledged that strict obedience to hard reason rather than sympathy for fellow humans would represent a sacrifice of the noblest part of our nature. It is the human heart resonating with empathy, not the logical brain attuned to the mathematics of efficiency, that revolts at cruelty and inhumanity. End quote. Okay, so of course, precisely executing your thoughtful wellness plan is not going to be a slippery slope toward Nazism. One step closer to the Third Reich. But I thought it was a good reminder that, as they say, reason, unfettered from human feeling, is as dangerous as being swept away by all of your emotions with no reasoning, like a toddler. In some ways, we might be acting like toddlers who only want to eat ice cream for every meal and watch Paw Patrol the whole day. And in those cases, some stoic maturity is in order, and a sign of good judgment, outgrowing our inner tantrum thrower. But I think a lot of times when I'm helping smart women who aren't getting the results they want from their good, solid plans, it's because their plans were designed for an automaton. Optimal Bot 3000, an execution machine devoid of emotions. Not only emotionless, but incapable of high-level reasoning that involves the need to evaluate unexpected new data and weigh the relative importance of competing tasks, and who is capable of executing at the exact same level at all times. The optimal bot doesn't occasionally wake up on the wrong side of the bed or have to manage 20 other critically important life domains. She never loses her mojo, and she definitely doesn't find repetition tedious. She has no concept of pain or pleasure or internalizing mouth breather Jerry's criticisms of her presentation at work into every aspect of her capability. So, maybe we'd make more progress if we didn't create good plans for a robot. What if we deliberately planned for humanness, and we also appreciated and celebrated our humanness? Part of that humanness is the ability to rise above limitations, overcome our weaknesses, and do things to serve the greater good, even when we don't want to. And some of it is whining on the floor and hiding in the corner. We can accept it all and learn from it all. One of my favorite quotes that I'm sure I've mentioned in past episodes because I love it and tell it to everyone everywhere I go is, "If there is such a thing as human perfection, it seems to emerge precisely from how we handle the imperfection that is everywhere, especially our own." What a clever place for God to hide holiness, so that only the humble and earnest will find it. A perfect person ends up being the one who can consciously forgive and include imperfection, rather than one who thinks that he or she is totally above and beyond imperfection. End quote. That's from Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan friar. How might you tweak your good plans to still have uncompromisingly high standards and to also consciously forgive and include imperfection, to expect plot twists and emotional hijackings? I think it's the secret ingredient to finally getting the results that you want. One idea is to create systems rather than plans. Plans tend to be rigid and linear, a specified path to a specific destination amidst a predictable environment. Everything determined in advance. Milepost A, milepost B, milepost C. Getting a DEXA scan today and another one in 6 months. The goal is to gain 5 pounds of muscle in 6 months. The plan is to eat 120 grams of protein every day. Lift weights 3 days a week at 5:45 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Increase the weight by 5% every 4 weeks. Supplement with 5 grams of creatine every day, and start with 1 push-up today and do 1 more push-up every day until you can do 100 push-ups in a row. That's a great plan. It can use a little more specificity, but it's a good outline of a plan. Do you think you could do it perfectly for 180 days? Maybe. I have every confidence in you. Knowing how overextended most women in their 40s and 50s are, I think there are some challenges to take into account. And then what happens at the end of 6 months? A system, on the other hand, is a flexible framework of habits, behaviors, rules, and feedback that is designed to produce consistent long-term results. A system is a new way of being. It's designed to work in an unpredictable environment. One of the things my Human Potential Institute coaching certification teacher, Rod Francis, always would tell me is, the map is not the terrain. And I thought that was so insightful. We've all had the experience of looking at a map to plan a hike or a ski run or a bike ride or whatever, even if it has those little elevation lines or whatever. The map is not the terrain. The trail isn't the winding line from point A to point B. It's dust and rocks and pine needles and mosquitoes and blisters and wildflowers and squirrels and hidden fairy gardens and deep conversations and lovely rests in the shade. Systems can make more allowances for the actual terrain that you can't really understand until you're deep in it. One expert described it as, the goal of a plan is to follow a map to a predetermined treasure. The goal of a system is to build a ship and a compass that can navigate any ocean and find endless new lands. Another idea to get your good plans to work, so to speak, is something I think is important, but I don't really understand how it fits. I just feel like it does. You're smart though, so hopefully it gives you a spark of an idea. In that same book I mentioned earlier, The Crucible of Doubt, the Givens talk a lot about the value of art and how art can change the world and change us personally. They say that art helps us move forward in our lives the way we want to because it gives human emotion its due. Art is an arsenal against evil because it shows human emotion informed by conscience. I don't really know how a painting or a song might improve your ability to gain 5 pounds of muscle in 6 months, but I still think it can. It's an idea that I can't really grab a hold of to give you solid advice about, but I think human emotion informed by conscience, as they said, can make your good plans better. Just acknowledging how you feel as specifically as possible can help you figure out your inner world. We talked a lot about that in episode 89, Your Vocabulary Affects How You Age. It's one of my favorite episodes, actually. Knowing how you feel beyond good or bad or mad or sad or happy is so important. It helps you make sense of your world and move forward. Maybe your favorite kind of art can help you identify how you feel, which can give you some insight into your self-sabotaging behavior. Or maybe it can help you experience what you've been trying to ignore in the name of being a good robot so you can process the emotions that you're repressing. I think there's something there. So don't sleep on art as a performance tool. Another thing I think is probably the most valuable thing for changing your plans to actually work is to implement a minimum baseline. Some people call this floors and ceilings. I like those terms too. Establishing in your plan or system what the exact definition of having done the thing is. And it has to be something you can do on your worst day. That's your floor. It should not be lifting more weight than you have ever lifted before in your life every single workout, or 2 hours of REM sleep every single night, or 100 push-ups every single day, unless you can currently do 300 push-ups without batting an eye, I suppose. So it's good to have high standards and have high, hard goals. High and beautifully designed ceilings, like the Baroque cathedral ceilings of plans. But you also need to have a floor that you can actually reach even on a bad hair, rainy, friends blew you off, kids are being twerps, bras chafing, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. This is because the most important part of the plan is to be consistent, to do something. I think it's so useful to envision yourself feeling as bad as you could possibly feel and doing the floor or the minimum baseline behavior anyway. Getting home from a stressful and stupid day and just wanting the comfort and pleasure of nachos or popcorn, but eating eggs or meatballs instead because you haven't met your minimum protein requirement yet. Or being profoundly exhausted and wanting nothing more than to snuggle on the couch with your Minky Couture knockoff blanket from TJ Maxx, but instead putting on your shoes and coat and walking around the block because you haven't hit your minimum number of steps yet today. Your plans are more likely to succeed if they include a floor, a minimum baseline that you're committed to and can do when you're at your worst. If you try it for a while and you can't even get yourself to reach the floor, then you set it too high, period. Lower the floor till you can do it, no matter what. The cool thing is that then you keep raising the floor imperceptibly and you enjoy what used to be hard, and suddenly, after a few years, you notice that your floor is now where your ceiling used to be. It's such a great tool to operationalize. If you want to talk more about it, send me a message at healthcouragecollective@gmail.com and we will get into it more. It takes into account that you're not always going to feel fabulous or have as much time as you had hoped, but sometimes you will, and then you'll hit the ceiling and that feels so great. But when you're feeling the effects of your humanness, you can still get credit for doing the minimum, because the magic is in the consistency of doing something that drives your life forward, even when you don't want to. Especially when you don't want to. There are probably other tips you can think of that help you embrace your humanness as you make your plans to put more years lived in good health into your future. But I think that's a good place to start. Create adaptable long-term systems that can ride the waves of life with you rather than plans. Use art somehow to connect you with your emotions, feel them, and see what they're trying to teach you about holding yourself back. And set floors and ceilings for what counts as having shown up that day. If you just can't do your floor behaviors, then they're too hard, so make them easier. Push yourself and hold yourself to high standards, but only as you simultaneously give yourself grace for being an emotional, fickle, sometimes unmotivated, imperfect human person who's doing the best she can. Don't make your plans for Optimal Bot 3000, and don't wish that you were her, because she kind of sucks. She's not spontaneous, fun, loving, silly, or intuitive. She doesn't make surprising connections or have the wisdom to know when to break the rules. She doesn't do the most important part of behavior change, which is celebration. It's not exciting when she does what she's programmed to do. She doesn't have to overcome obstacles to transform into a new version of herself. She doesn't feel deep fulfillment or joy. She doesn't find meaning in her experiences or look for lessons in the struggles of humanity. She can't see that achieving the goal has nothing to do with the goal and everything to do with becoming the type of person who's capable of achieving that goal. Even though it's more work, planning for your messy and emotional, deeply human self is so much more rewarding. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope this helps you tweak your plans and start getting the results you want. This is a crucial time of life that really sets the stage for your remaining decades of life and how alive you're going to feel 20 and 30 years from now. Next week, we're going to talk about how thyroid issues are linked to perimenopause and menopause changes. Until then, stop making plans for robots and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.